dysfunctional vat. Now, if you remember in a previous episode, I talked about the cavitation that had opened up about 10 inches underneath the ground. I'm sitting right on top of red clay, but it turns out there's a whole bunch of disturbed soil underneath that clay. I don't know where that came from. And at this moment, it doesn't even really matter. What does matter is I've got to wall this off so that the footprint of my drilling rig is not compromised by the collapse of the red clay above. That hole, if you'll look at about the 11 o'clock position, that cavity goes all the way over to where this support right here is. Right here, coming towards this wheel, which is used for moving the rig, the cavity is coming this way, probably reaching about where the pipe is sitting. As far as looking forward, looking down this little drainage canal here, the hole is extended back in there about 12 to 15 inches, which is significantly large. I put some concrete in there and I made a video on that. Not happy I did that. I wish I'd done this first. But right now I am using plaster of Paris and I'm walling that off. The reason for using the plaster of Paris is when it stays wet, it stays very strong. And it will set up, it will dry, and I can also drill through that. Going through the concrete, I'm going to get a Snickers bar because I'm going to be here for a while. But what I'm doing is I'm using a small measuring, small little cup, little 4-ounce cup, and I am putting the plaster of Paris down inside there. I am using this and a cup, a plastic cup with water in it, but I'm using that to drip water in here and seal everything up so that I can really start putting more plaster of Paris in. Now, I folded a piece of paper and I was using the paper to help get the stuff in behind all this. And I'm going to continue to pour that in. I'm going to get as much in there as I possibly can. And when I get ready to go back down in there, I'll just start drilling through this plaster and work my way back into the main shaft again and drill on down. Now I'm using some black, rather hard plastic to hold everything in place. The plastic I can fold back and I'll get it to release from the plaster and life will be good. This plaster right here that you see has been put in, and I've used a lot of plaster, and I keep pressing it down with my fingers, adding water, and then adding more plaster, pushing it down with my fingers, adding water, and so forth, until I've built that up about 6 inches now. On this other side right here, I can't use my finger to do that, so as I put the powder down inside there, I'm using a stick to push it in, and then I add water to it. So a cup of powder, it's a 4-ounce cup by the way, a cup of powder and then about 2 cups of water in there. You can't add too much water to plaster of Paris. You can with concrete, but not with plaster. I just add that in over time and I just keep adding powder to it to wall off and seal off the leaks so that the plaster will stay up there. Okay, with my pour of plaster of Paris, I still have a cavity over here that I've got to seal, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do that, but this is where I'm at this time. With the plastic repositioned, I dug out this little cavity right here that you see, and I've been putting plaster of Paris in there and then using this bottle, which has a very small hole drilled in the bottom of it. I've been wetting the plaster of Paris down so that it'll set up. I'm doing this in layers. I'll put in about 1 inch. I'll get it all wetted down a little bit. And when I say a bit, I'm talking about 3 cups of water on it. And then I go back, I let it sit for a while, and then I put more in. Now right here at this spot, I'm going to open this up momentarily and do the same thing. And I'm going to go ahead and wall this entire thing up all the way to the top with plaster of Paris in order to prevent any further erosion of this clay. The one benefit that I have using this, where I dug this little cavity, is that I'm able to completely fill the cavity with plaster of Paris. On this side right here, where the camera is, there's a fairly large cavitation in there, and I'm going to have to be digging all this up in order to put in my pitless adapter anyway. So just keeping it from eroding any further should be sufficient to finish the drill.